I never imagined that the night I had been looking forward to for months, my birthday, a day I tried so hard to make special, would turn into the most humiliating and heartbreaking disaster of my life. And the worst part is, it wasn't ruined by chance or bad planning or some small mishap that people laugh about later. No. It was destroyed deliberately, loudly, aggressively, and right in front of every single person I had invited. And the person who did it was none other than my own daughter-in-law, a woman I have tried for years to love, accept, and understand. But what she did that night left me shaking, crying, and questioning everything. And honestly, I still can't decide whether my reaction afterward makes me the villain or the victim. So I'm asking you, was I wrong for what I did? Tell me honestly, because my family certainly hasn't. Some of them think I handled it well, others think I went too far, and some avoid giving any opinion at all. But if you were in my shoes, if your own daughter-in-law stood up and screamed at you, insulted you, then tore your decorations, smashed your cake, and stormed out of your own birthday party, what would you have done? But let me start from the beginning, because if I don't explain how everything built up, you might think it was just a simple outburst. It wasn't. It was the explosion of months. No, years of tension, passive-aggressive comments, selfish behavior, and disrespect that I kept swallowing again and again just to keep peace in the family. I'm not a dramatic person. I'm not someone who yells or creates chaos. I've always been the calm one, the diplomat, the peacemaker. My husband passed away 7 years ago, and since then I've tried to be the glue of the family, the one who keeps everyone connected. My son Adam is my only child. When he met his wife, Layla, I welcomed her with open arms. I really did. She was polite, soft-spoken, and seemed genuinely happy with him. At first I thought everything was perfect, but things slowly began to shift, and before I knew it, every small misunderstanding became a battlefield. The first few incidents were tiny. She'd make comments about my cooking being too traditional, or about my home decor being outdated, or how I hovered too much around her and Adam. I ignored those things. Newly married women often want independence, and I didn't want to come across as one of those controlling mothers-in-law. But then her tone became sharper. Her comments became digs. She'd roll her eyes at me in front of others. She'd complain to Adam about me when she thought I wasn't around. She'd show up late to family dinners or cancel last minute without explanation. And Adam, he loved her so much that he either didn't see it or didn't want to. He always told me, "Mom, she's just stressed," or "she's just tired," or "she didn't mean it like that." Every time I told myself to let it go. But no matter how hard I tried to accept her, it always felt like she saw me as some kind of enemy. Still, despite all of that, I wanted my birthday this year to be peaceful. I wanted it to be special. I hadn't celebrated properly in years, not since before my husband died. So I decided to do something nice, a small gathering at my home, with close family and a few friends. I cleaned the house myself. I decorated everything with soft gold and white, because those were the colors my husband always loved. I hung fairy lights, I ordered a beautiful white and gold cake, and I cooked almost all the food myself. It took me 2 full days. I sent out invitations weeks in advance just to make sure everyone knew the plan. And yes, I invited Layla, because regardless of how she treated me sometimes, she was still part of the family. As the day approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I even bought a new dress for the occasion, a deep navy blue one that reminded me of the shade I wore on my first date with my husband decades ago. When I got ready that evening, I actually felt beautiful, happy, hopeful, but that feeling didn't last. The party started at 7 p.m., guests began arriving right on time, laughing, hugging me, complimenting the decorations, filling the room with warmth. I can still remember how the lights looked, softly glowing on everyone's faces, how the music played gently in the background, how people were smiling. For a moment, I felt like everything was perfect. Adam arrived around 7:30 p.m., but he walked in alone. I tried not to let my disappointment show, but my heart dropped slightly. I kissed him on the cheek and asked, trying to sound casual, "Where's Layla?" He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck, and said, "She's getting ready. She said she'll come later. She wasn't feeling great." I nodded, even though we had agreed that everyone would arrive together. Still, I didn't want to assume the worst. I didn't want to spoil my own evening worrying about her attitude. So I focused on the guests, making sure everyone ate, greeting old friends, telling stories. But Adam seemed distracted. He kept checking his phone every few minutes. I felt a tiny pinch of anxiety. Something felt off. Around 8:15 p.m., just when we were about to bring out the cake, the front door swung open. Not gently, not politely. It slammed against the wall with a loud crack that made everyone jump and look over. And there she was, Layla. She walked in wearing a glittery red dress, heels clicking loudly, her eyes already narrowed as if she had come ready for war. Her hair was styled beautifully, her makeup flawless, but her expression was ice cold. And the first thing she said, loud enough for the entire room to hear, was, "Wow, so you started without me." Again, people stared, some exchanged awkward glances. Adam's face turned pale. I froze, trying to process why she was already angry. I stepped toward her and smiled, trying to diffuse things before they got worse. "Sweetheart, we didn't start anything," I said softly. "We were just waiting for you to come so we could bring out the cake." She scoffed loudly. "Yeah, right. Like you ever wait for me. You clearly don't want me here anyway." The room went silent. You could feel the discomfort spreading like smoke. I took a deep breath and reached for her arm gently. "That's not true, Layla. I invited you because I wanted you here. This is a special night for me." She jerked her arm away sharply, as if my touch burned her. "Oh, please," she snapped. "You just want to pretend you're this perfect, innocent mother who does everything right. But in reality, you've never liked me. So let's not pretend." A few guests gasped softly. Adam muttered, "Layla, stop." But she ignored him completely. At this point, I was embarrassed. My cheeks felt hot, and I didn't even know what to say. But I forced a smile and whispered, "Let's not do this here. Please, let's go to the kitchen and talk privately." But she didn't move. Instead, she raised her voice even more, making sure every single guest could hear her clearly. "No, I'm done pretending. I'm tired of you acting like the victim all the time." My heart sank. I felt the room closing in on me. I could see the looks on people's faces, sympathy from some, curiosity from others, shock from the rest. But before I could react, Layla stepped forward toward the main table, the table I had spent so long organizing, the one covered with white flowers, candles, and the beautiful cake. And then, without hesitation, without even blinking, she grabbed the edge of the tablecloth and yanked it with both hands. Everything on it toppled over. The candles fell, the dishes shattered, the vase broke into pieces, the flowers scattered across the floor, and the cake, a cake I had waited weeks for, lost its balance and hit the ground with a dull, heartbreaking splat. Gasps filled the room. Someone screamed. Adam rushed forward saying, "What the hell are you doing?" I stood frozen. I felt my chest tighten, my throat close, and my eyes burn. I could barely breathe. My birthday, my decorations, my effort, everything was now destroyed. On purpose, and in front of everyone. But Layla wasn't done. She pointed at the mess like she was proud of it and yelled, "There! Now it matches the energy in this house." Then she turned on her heel and stormed toward the door. Adam grabbed her arm and whispered desperately, "Layla, stop. Please. You're embarrassing yourself." She shoved his hand off and screamed at him, "Shut up, Adam! You always take her side." Then she walked out, slamming the door so hard the lights flickered. I felt like my legs were about to collapse under me. Some guests rushed toward me, asking if I was okay, trying to comfort me, offering to help clean up. I could barely hear them. Everything felt muffled, like I was underwater. My own son stood there, torn between running after his wife or staying with me. For a moment, he looked at me with helpless eyes. And I saw something in those eyes, years of stress, exhaustion, frustration. And still, part of me expected him to go after her. But he didn't. He stayed. He put his hand on my shoulder gently and said, "Mom, I'm so sorry." And that's when the tears finally came. I cried silently. Not because of the broken decorations or the ruined cake, but because of the realization that no matter how much I tried to be kind, respectful, loving, Layla hated me, truly hated me. And I didn't know why. As the guests slowly started to help clean up, I felt this overwhelming sense of shame even though I had done nothing wrong. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the night to end. And yet, all I could think was, how did things reach this point? Why did she hate me so much? I invited her with love. I prepared everything hoping she would enjoy the evening. And she repaid me with humiliation. And the worst part, I knew this wasn't the end. Something inside me whispered that this was only the beginning of something much darker. So that was the situation I was in. Heartbroken, shocked, humiliated, and confused. My birthday destroyed, my guests stunned, my daughter-in-law gone after creating chaos, and my son looking at me like he didn't know what to do next. And before I tell you what happened after that night, I need to ask you, what would you have done if you were in my place? If your own daughter-in-law publicly destroyed your celebration and then blamed you for everything? Would you confront her? Cut her off? Try to fix things again? Or would you finally let everything explode and show her you're not someone she can walk over. Think about it. Because the choice I made afterward changed everything, and not everyone agreed with it. After my guests left that night, the house felt heavier than it had ever felt before. The lights were still on, the decorations half torn, the scent of food lingering in the air, but everything felt wrong, tainted. It was like the warmth of my home had been stripped away in one violent motion, replaced by this thick, cold silence that I didn't know how to escape. Adam stayed behind to help me clean the worst of it. The shattered glass, the broken vase, the ruined cake smeared across the floor. He kept apologizing over and over like he was trying to convince himself there was something he could fix. But there wasn't. The damage wasn't the mess on the floor. It was the wound in my heart. At one point I told him to stop cleaning and sit down, because he looked like he was about to break. His shoulders were slumped, his hands were shaking slightly, and his voice kept catching when he spoke. When he finally sat beside me, he put his head in his hands and whispered, "Mom, I don't know what to do anymore." I didn't even know what to tell him. I stroked his back gently the way I used to when he was a child and simply said, "Talk to me." And for the first time in years, Adam opened up. Really opened up. He told me that things between him and Layla had been tense for months. That she had grown more irritable, more demanding, more suspicious, more controlling. He said she often accused him of choosing me over her, even when he wasn't. She hated when he visited me alone. She'd get angry if he answered my calls too quickly. And every time they argued about something, somehow she always brought me into it, blaming me for things that didn't involve me at all. Adam said he tried to reassure her, tried to create balance, tried to make her feel valued, but nothing seemed to help. I felt a deep ache listening to him. I knew their relationship wasn't perfect, but I had no idea it had reached this level. He admitted he was exhausted, mentally drained, and scared that no matter what he did, Layla would keep pushing further. I told him, "You don't deserve to live like that." He nodded weakly, but he didn't say much after that. It was late, and he eventually went home after making me promise I'd call him if I needed anything. But as he left, I could tell he was dreading whatever argument was waiting for him there. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake replaying the scene over and over again like a nightmare loop. The screaming, the judgmental stares, the crash of the table, the cake splattering across the floor, and worse, the hatred in Layla's eyes when she looked at me. A look so sharp it felt like a knife. I wondered what I had done, why she had chosen to target me, what made her think I was her enemy. I had tried so hard. I had welcomed her. I had supported their marriage. I had stepped back when she needed space. But nothing seemed to matter. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Some guests messaged me expressing sympathy. Some said they were shocked and had never seen anything like that. A couple asked whether I wanted help cleaning up. But the message that made my stomach twist into knots came from Adam. "Mom, things got worse last night." I called him immediately, and he picked up after just one ring. His voice was tired, defeated. He told me that when he went home, Layla was waiting in the living room, pacing back and forth, like she had been holding on to her anger like a fireball. She yelled at him the moment he stepped inside. She accused him of embarrassing her, of letting me control him, of ruining her reputation, of choosing me over her. She even claimed the guests were judging her because of me. Nothing made sense. It was like she had created an entire fantasy where she was the victim, and I was the villain. As Adam described the argument, I felt my heart breaking, not for myself, but for him. He told me she threw things, slammed doors, said awful things, and at one point even threatened to leave him if he ever forced her to attend another event of mine. Forced her. All I did was invite her like family, and then Adam said something that made my breath catch. He whispered, "Mom, she thinks you're trying to replace her as the most important woman in my life." I closed my eyes and swallowed hard. I didn't want that. I never wanted that. I just wanted to keep my family close. But Layla saw everything as a battle, a competition, a threat. Adam said he spent the entire night trying to calm her, but nothing worked. She eventually locked herself in the guest room and refused to come out. And then he said, "She wants you to apologize to her?" I froze. "Apologize for what?" I asked, whispering because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Adam sighed heavily and said, "She says you humiliated her by starting the party without her. She says you intentionally set her up so she would look like the bad guy." I let out a bitter laugh. It wasn't funny, but the absurdity of it was too much. "I didn't start anything," I said. "I was waiting for her." Adam said he knew that. But Layla wouldn't believe it. She had rewritten the entire story in her head. Over the next few days, I avoided calling Adam because I didn't want to cause more problems between them. But I couldn't avoid thinking about what he had said. Apologize. To Layla. After she publicly destroyed my birthday party in front of everyone. The thought alone felt wrong. But part of me wondered, would apologizing keep the peace? Would it help Adam breathe easier? Would it stop the hostility? I hated conflict. I always had. And a small, exhausted part of me considered giving in. Not because I felt wrong, but because I loved my son. But the universe had its own timing, because before I could make that choice, something happened that changed everything. 4 days after the party, I decided to take a walk. My mind felt heavy and clouded, and the fresh air helped clear my thoughts. As I reached the park near my home, I heard someone calling my name. It was Sarah, one of the guests from the party, a family friend I had known for years. She walked quickly toward me with concern written all over her face. "I've been looking for you," she said breathlessly. "I need to tell you something." I frowned and asked if everything was okay. And then she said something I never expected. "Layla went around telling everyone you verbally attacked her before the party. She's saying you insulted her, made her cry, and told her not to come unless she dressed a certain way." I stared at her, my mind blank. I felt my mouth fall open. "I never even saw her before the party," I whispered. "I didn't speak to her at all." Sarah nodded slowly. "I know. That's why I'm telling you. She's twisting the story, painting herself as the victim, making you look like the jealous mother-in-law." My chest tightened painfully. My stomach churned. She wasn't just angry, she was lying about me, deliberately, maliciously. And the worst part, some people believed her. Sarah told me she overheard 2 other guests talking about the situation, saying things like, "Maybe the mother-in-law pushed her too far and there must be something we didn't see." My hands trembled with anger, real anger, not sadness, not confusion, not disappointment, but a boiling rage I didn't even recognize in myself. For years I had swallowed my pride. For years I had ignored the small insults, the cold stares, the snide comments. I had brushed everything aside just to keep peace. But hearing that she was now lying about me to protect her own ego and smear my reputation, that was the moment something inside me snapped. I went home shaking. I sat down at my dining table, still scarred from the mess she caused, and I stared at the wall for a long time. And then I made a decision. I wasn't going to apologize. I wasn't going to beg for peace. I wasn't going to quietly accept her lies. I was done being silent. I picked up my phone and called Adam. He answered, sounding tired, like he expected another problem. But instead of speaking softly like I usually did, I said firmly, "Adam, I need you and Layla to come to my house tonight. We need to talk." He hesitated. "Mom, I don't think she'll." "Tell her," I interrupted sharply. "This isn't optional." He stayed quiet for a moment and then sighed. "I'll try." When evening came, I felt nervous, but also strangely calm, like I had finally stepped into a version of myself that was tired of being walked over. I wasn't going to scream or fight, but I was going to stand my ground. Around 8 p.m. my doorbell rang. I took a deep breath and opened it. Adam stood there looking tense. Layla stood beside him with her arms crossed, chin raised, eyes hard and cold. She didn't say hello. Didn't even look at me. They walked inside and I closed the door gently. We sat down in the living room. The air was thick enough to cut. I looked at Layla first and said, "I heard what you've been telling people about me." She rolled her eyes like the teenager she wasn't. "I don't know what you're talking about." I leaned forward slightly. "You told people I insulted you before the party. You told them I made you cry. That I told you how to dress." "Layla, that never happened," she smirked. "Maybe you don't remember." My jaw clenched. "I remember everything very clearly," she shrugged. "Well, people believe me?" Something in me snapped again. Not anger this time. Something clearer. I sat back and said, "I'm done." Adam looked confused. "Don't. What do you mean?" I turned to him slowly and said, "I love you. You are my son. But I will not allow anyone, even your wife, to disrespect me, lie about me, and try to destroy my character. So here are the new rules. If Layla wants to be part of my life, she will apologize, publicly, the same way she publicly humiliated me. If she doesn't, I will be stepping back from both of your lives." Adam's eyes widened. "Mom," Layla burst out laughing. "You're insane if you think I'm apologizing for anything." I looked at her calmly. "Then this conversation is over." I stood up. My heart pounded, but I didn't show it. Adam stood too, his voice panicked. "Mom, please don't do this, she's just..." I held up a hand. "Adam, I won't be treated like this anymore. If she thinks I'm the enemy, let her live without me. Layla scoffed loudly. Finally, something we agree on. Adam turned to her sharply. Can you stop? But she didn't. She leaned toward me slightly, smirking, and said, You think you can scare me? You think I care if you pull away? You're not even important. You're just jealous I'm the woman in Adam's life now. I felt my stomach drop at the cruelty of that sentence. Jealous of my own son's wife. That's how she saw me, as competition, as some kind of rival. I looked at her one last time and said quietly, You need help, Layla. And I hope someday you realize how much damage you're causing. She rolled her eyes again. I walked to the door and opened it. It's time for you both to leave, I said. Adam hesitated, torn and devastated. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Mom, I love you, I said softly. But I'm choosing myself this time. They left. The door clicked shut, and I collapsed into a chair and cried, not because I regretted anything, but because I finally acknowledged the pain I had been carrying for years. The next few weeks were quiet, strangely quiet. Adam called a few times, but he sounded different, confused, conflicted. Layla didn't call at all. I distanced myself not out of anger, but out of self-respect. I didn't check their social media. I didn't ask mutual friends about them. I focused on myself, cleaning, cooking, taking walks, reconnecting with old hobbies. And slowly, I felt lighter. But one morning, I got a call that changed everything. Adam. His voice was shaken, tired, softer than I had ever heard it. He said, Mom, she left. My heart stopped. What do you mean she left? I whispered. He took a deep breath. She packed her things. She's staying with her sister. She said she needs space from me and from this entire family. She said she can't be with someone who's controlled by his mother. My chest tightened painfully. Adam, I'm so sorry. But he interrupted me. Don't be? Because this time, I don't think she's coming back. I didn't know what to say. The silence between us stretched for a long time. Then he said something that brought tears to my eyes. Mom, thank you. For finally standing up for yourself. I should have done it years ago. That moment broke me. Not from sadness, but from relief, from love. From the realization that Adam finally saw the truth. The following weeks were hard for him, of course. He was grieving the relationship, grieving the years he had spent trying to fix something that wasn't his fault. And I supported him, not by overstepping, not by involving myself, but by simply being there when he needed a place to breathe. Eventually, he told me that Layla had been manipulative for a long time, that he had lost himself trying to keep her happy, and that her outburst at my birthday party wasn't an accident. It was who she truly was. He said he wished he had seen it earlier. And although a part of me mourned the idea of what our family could have been, a bigger part of me felt free. Months later, on a warm afternoon, I decided to host a small gathering again. Nothing big. Just close friends. I decorated the house, not extravagantly, just enough to feel warm and festive. As I placed fresh flowers on the table, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. A peace I hadn't felt in a long time. Adam came early to help set up. He smiled at me and said, Mom, the house feels like itself again. I smiled back. So do I? When the guests arrived, the evening unfolded beautifully. Soft laughter, warm conversations, music that didn't have to drown out tension. And as I watched everyone enjoying themselves, I realized something important. The chaos from my birthday hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. It had shown me the truth. It had forced me to set boundaries I should have set long ago. And although it hurt deeply at the time, that pain had led to clarity, strength, and healing. So here I am now, telling this story with a heart that feels stronger than before. Was it painful? Yes. Did it break me at moments? Absolutely. But did I choose myself? Finally, yes. And I don't regret it. Not anymore. If you were on my side during this story, then like this video. Subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me your final thoughts in the comments. Do you think I handled everything the right way? Because honestly, I did the best I could with the heart I had. And I'll see you all in the next story.